Welcome back to Let's Play Kirby Squeak Squad. Last time we went through Jam Jungle. And in retrospect, actually, I have a big complaint about Jam Jungle. That it barely has that many jungle levels. I think only like half of the world is actually jungle. Because there's the mechanical one, there's the temple one, the boss was also in kind of a cavern-y, temple-y one. It's like, wow, where's the jungle? But that's beside the point at this point. So here we go in the new area, Vocal Volcano, which is actually pretty straightforward so far, and again, it's kind of lacking in the volcano department, let's just put it that way. To be fair, that seems to be a problem with Kirby games, not having much to do with their theme in the initial stages of a level. And sometimes even the end, like Mass Attack, has some really jarring transitions. Flame dash through there, save you some trouble. You can also flame dash through here to save you some trouble. And there's also a treasure chest. Get on the... oh. Item management for the win. Sadly, there's some other stuff that I haven't actually been able to show because we don't have the right scrolls. You need scrolls for certain power-up combinations. Didn't mean to do that. We actually need the angel power-up here. As much as I went on about how I don't like the power-up, we actually are required to use it here. As far as I'm aware, at least, there's no other way to get this treasure other than using the arrow power-up. So, charge up just right, and we're good to go. And also use this, clear it out. You can charge up and do a triple arrow. From what I gather, this costume was sort of meant as an homage to Kid Icarus, but this game would have come out before Smash, oddly enough. This was like 2007. No, this wouldn't be a first. Kirby sort of having a reminiscent costume to another game, years before the actual game. I mean, in the case of Smash, because like Link's hat is very similar to Kirby's sword hat. So when Kirby actually does have the hat in Smash, it's actually funny because he doesn't use a sword, he uses the bow and arrow. Because that's Link's neutral B. So that is a story for another time though, or another LP. I don't know if I'm ever going to do Smash. If I do, it'll be all of them. I'd like to go through all four. Like single player of all four, if I could. And suddenly we're in a volcano, I just wanted to point out. Yeah, jarring transitions are kind of a thing in Kirby, it seems. Kind of lacks cohesion in world design, but you could say that about a lot of games, so you can't be too harsh about it. Contrary to what you might think, we actually need the firepower here. The fire can actually go through here and actually hit the switch. Ow! Okay, didn't mean to do that. Okay. Nudge. And then there. Good music in this area, I should also point out. Ow. There's only one really difficult level in World 5, and it's at the very end, so we don't really have a huge amount to worry about early on. I'm sure you know which one I'm talking about if you've ever played the game. It's not hard, it's just kind of a maze. And kind of really easy to mess up as well. Hidden door here. By hidden, I mean not at all hidden. Pretty much in plain sight. You do actually need to know what that is though, because it is actually kind of difficult to find it on the first playthrough. I can attest to this. But the fact that you can see other doors kind of gives you the clue. Maybe I should explore a little more. So it's sort of implied, but not directly stated. So I kind of like that. The beam scroll, I don't know if I mentioned already, but the beam scroll is actually like the most worthless scroll in the game. It basically just makes a more powerful beam. You don't get any new attacks or anything. One of the best scrolls is actually one of the best scrolls is actually the fire scroll. I mean the sword scroll, because that means if you get that scroll, you can actually combine your attacks and new power-ups. For example, you can actually get like a fire sword, which may have been in another Kirby game. I'm not 100% sure. we're just gonna be like, nah, don't worry about full health. We're just gonna go through the door for our own safety. Not the best 5-2, but oh well. I was just trying to show off some. I was trying to get more health, but it ended up costing us health. Hammer Scroll, I think, gives you like a charge hammer, but we don't actually see hammer scrolls like ever, so it's not that useful. For 5-3, I'd say go cutter or oh yeah, I was just saying that you don't ever see hammer scroll and hammer power-ups. Yeah, the game wants to make me a liar apparently. So we have hammer, so you can do this. It's really impractical. The chances of actually getting that off on a boss are so low that I wouldn't count on it. So this is your typical mini boss rush, as I like to call it. It's kind of a Kirby thing. I mean, like, every Kirby game does this. But basically, you just fight the bosses and use their power-ups to get hidden items. So... oh shoot. Select and start are right next to each other on the gamepad, so I tend to hit both by accident a lot. So see, this one, we need the ammo suit to get through, and unfortunately, the next room kind of sucks with ammo. Actually, every room sucks with ammo. Ammo is not a good power-up. It's so not practical, because it's a very close range kind of thing, compared to even other melee power-ups like sword. So I'd almost recommend just doing this. It's almost just as easy and fast to just shoot the boulders back at him. Metal scroll, I don't know if we actually went over this, but the metal scroll lets you turn into a ball, like this, and roll down the slopes. It's really useless. I feel like this is the last time we're going to be required to even use metal. Like, first and last time we'll ever be required. So try fighting Sora with the hammer. It's not gonna be a fun time. Gonna have a very bad time if you do that. But, ow. I want to actually check something. If he'll stop attacking me. Come over here, please. Thank you. What's in here? So in here, you actually get a good power-up. By good power-up, I mean the hammer. It still isn't ideal, but it's, again, it's a very close range weapon, but it's actually way preferable to the ammo costume, just because it does a lot of damage, and you kind of stun lock him at some point. So yeah, try to get a stun lock going, and it actually goes really fast. Just can get more health. We don't need it. And we're actually at the end, so see, pretty straightforward. And I missed. Okay, we have actually gotten halfway through the world already. So that's making good progress, but kind of not at the same time because the next few levels are kind of long. Ow. Especially when you whiff hammer attacks. They're really long when you do that. Just get a tornado and just whiz through. You can get the ammo costume. I think it's not required, but it might be. I'll have to double check. You know what? I don't want to risk it and have to come back for a second try. We're just gonna do this now. Yep. You can also just drill to move fast. I wonder if speedrunners prefer fire or animal. Probably animal, because I don't know. No, actually, no. The animal drill attack doesn't seem as fast as like the burning attack from the old games, and also the burning. It was actually an adventure power up, and it was actually integrated with fire. I should point out. So yeah, so that's why there's no burning power up, because burning is just this. It's literally just doing that. Which is like so much more practical combining power-ups, giving fire actually a use. This part's a little bit confusing to me, but it's actually not that bad. You actually have to like find... Actually no, I still don't know how to get that maximum tomato. After all these years, I still don't know. Spark, basically, getting the spark power-up allows you to mash the button to charge up a thing. It's sort of like a mixture of Spark and Plasma from Superstar, but it's not nearly as OP as Plasma. From what I recall reading, I think Plasma also got pretty heavily nerfed in Superstar Ultra. So it's not nearly as viable. You can't sweep everybody like in the original Superstar. Arena is a lot harder because you can't just spam plasma on everybody. So yeah, again, I'm not sure about the nerfs and buffs of power-ups in Kirby Superstar, but that's just what I recall reading. You have an invisible candy from earlier, and this is actually a perfect opportunity to use it. If you have fire, you can get through there a little bit faster, but we don't. If you have the invisible candy, you can just kind of breeze through this hallway, not having to worry. Otherwise, you may not be fast enough actually to get through here, while also dodging every enemy. So that's why I recommend doing it that way. And we have another Squeak encounter, but we actually have a secret path here. Just wanted to point that out. It kind of takes us to the top, which is also where their hideout happens to be. Sadly, we're just a teensy bit too slow, which this I seem to recall is one of the harder ones to actually get, but I don't actually remember. Fighting Doc with ice isn't the easiest thing in the world, but it's manageable enough. And by manageable enough, I mean it's actually still pretty easy. None of the Squeaks are that tough. They're kind of below mini bosses even. So yeah, no ice sword for us, sadly, because we don't have the scroll yet. So, oh well. And levels this is where the levels start to get really long compared to the first half. Cause like just getting through half of this world is basically taken, or not. This was actually a shorter world than the last one. I thought there were 5 stages here, not 4. This level sucks. I'm just gonna lay out right now. This level sucks. Especially when you're trying to show the video in a concise manner. Okay, so you basically have to go from room to room getting different power-ups. If you have a hammer power-up from that one room, and you didn't, just use it on Sora, which is the name of that Squeak, you are in business. Your life will be so much easier. As a kid, I thought this was the most confusing level in the game, but I figured out it's actually really easy. If you go left to right clockwise, it's actually really simple. So you can ground pound these pegs that acts as the hammer, so that saves a bit of time. There is a hammer power up in this level, so you can actually skip that first room if you get the hammer power up in the previous area. It'll almost be preferable to just do that, considering those mini bosses aren't actually that tough to fight. So we got the first chest a little bit out of order. We'll get to that in a moment. This is why the stun power-up sucks, or metal power-up. In this room here, you don't actually really need the metal power-up for it. I think you can damage boost your way through, but it's less than ideal, let's just put it that way. I mean, this part you don't even need a power-up at all. And like here, you can just float carefully. You can just kind of float down gently. You can't really float down gently with stone, unfortunately, or metal, unfortunately. But this is the hammer power-up that you're kind of supposed to use in that area, but they kind of underestimated the fact that you can totally cheese that other part. And this is actually the end. But it's actually harder than it looks because you have to deal with these fire geysers. Also, you're on a time limit. I never mentioned this, but you are actually on a time limit for these parts. The hole will actually go away after a certain amount of time. So you definitely want to grab it ASAP. Just kind of trying to show off the plasma a little bit, unsuccessfully. Again, it is not nearly as easy to use because there's no guard. You can't block in this game, so you can't like stand in one place. You have to actually move continuously. Okay, so you have to wait till he throws a thing, but he's being really stubborn if you couldn't tell. There we go. And he's down. So you can also just kind of slide into them to get items, which you generally can't do that too often, so that's kind of unique. When that actually works against enemies. You're just gonna flush this power up, basically. Don't need it, don't want it, just want to get to the end. I forgot this was a short world. But it's just a problem. You'll see that throughout the rest of the game that the worlds are a little bit on the imbalanced side. So that's the sleep scroll. It basically means when you're asleep, you can actually, when you have the sleep power up, you can actually recover health. So that's actually really nice. Okay. This is actually kind of like the first really tough boss, if you ask me. If you don't have, because they don't give you Tornado. It's actually really easy with Tornado. It's just without Tornado, it's kind of a pain in the butt. You have this little fire raccoon Tanuki looking thing. Owl Tanuki thing. And you just gotta do this if you're using the power-ups they give you. Otherwise, it's not so easy. But just look at how slowly we're actually doing damage. Like, I think it's weak against ice, but then again, try landing a hit. I'm actually gonna try that. You have to kind of just do this weird jumping thing. But it also feels like it has more health than the other bosses at this point, so it feels weird that this boss is like strangely tough compared to everything else we've fought so far. And you want to dodge that, because that gives you an opening. Not unless a rock falls on you. And I accidentally spat out the power-up, so we're kind of going in without any power-ups. Which is a less than ideal situation. This is his main attack, actually. So we can actually inhale these, which is kind of how you're supposed to fight this guy if you don't have a power-up. And then you can also inhale the rocks or the enemy. And we're actually cutting this really close, but yeah, I always have trouble with this boss, so this isn't surprising to me whatsoever. Not sure if the lava can kill you after you fight the boss, so that's something really good to keep in mind. Make sure you don't fall into the lava, just in case that does kill you, even if you've won the battle. So just wanted to point out that we have cleared all 5 worlds, so we only have 2 left, right? So, next time, we're flying up for some reason into Ice Island, which is not one of my favorite worlds in the game, but you can't win them all, so thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me next time for more Kirby's Squeak Squad.